Folks, the diner is open for business, but this is not under the happiest of circumstances given the wacky shit that has just been going on this September 10th, 2025. Oh boy, I just couldn't believe that this started happening. The big headline today is that very, very influential right wing guy, Charlie Kirk, got assassinated today at a Utah event where he was speaking at, and it was in the middle of a question and answer session. I remember seeing this on social media literally like minutes after it happened. Videos of the event got circulated on social media from various angles, including one that was literally 3 feet from him when the gun fired, and you can see the impact and you can see the blood gushing out of his neck. And I remember thinking there is no way this guy was going to survive.
Yeah, especially when there was all that blood coming out. There was a great amount of blood loss.
Oh, I did not even see that, but I originally hoped, even after he got into the hospital, I guess, that it was possible that he would survive.
It was going on like, oh, he's in stable condition, oh, he's in critical condition. And then it was on Trump's Truth Social account that broke it out first, basically, that said he's dead. And again, just from looking at the clips, I thought there's no way he's going to survive that. Too much blood loss. He was pretty much dead at the scene.
Yeah, and it's just heartbreaking for his family because his 2 kids will have to grow up without a father. That's just terrible. And the worst part is there are people that are just celebrating this just because he was conservative and that he just argued with liberals on college campuses, and he was just he said some things that aren't the best of things. Like, the ironic part was he said something about the Second Amendment, how more gun violence is needed and such, and ironically he got killed by a sniper.
It was, yeah, he was saying something to the effect of, like, I'm willing to have some gun deaths if it means we have a full Second Amendment, which was basically like his way of saying, like, look, people need to have gun rights, they need to have the way to protect themselves. So he was saying he'd rather have that than have guns confiscated. So it is an ironic thing that that's what he said.
Yeah, and they couldn't get rid of Trump. So what did they do? They get rid of someone else that's closer to Trump, and that was Charlie Kirk.
One of the things that I'm afraid of is that there could be more copycat behavior of more assassinations or assassination attempts on other right-wing talking heads.
Yeah, they was being asked about mass shootings, and literally the last thing he was talking about is like, okay, are we talking gang related too? Bam. But the thing is, you can go on Reddit, you can go on Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, and just like was mentioned before, you can find thousands of videos featuring people who praise the death of this guy. Oh, I don't praise people when they get killed unless they're really bad people. And Charlie Kirk was a bad person. Like,
it's like,
he was a bad conservative. He was a bad person.
Just because he didn't have the same views, it's like, yeah, he argued with people, but he was just having debates on people, regardless of views.
Oh no, he's a bigot. He's a fascist. It's like, it's again. I can understand when they say it's tiresome when a conservative says that everything he doesn't like is woke. That's why I don't like to use that word anymore. So yeah, it's especially dumb and idiotic when a liberal calls everything they don't like a Nazi, a fascist, a phobe this, a bigot that. Like, it is old, and they have been doing this for fucking 8 years or longer.
And we've talked about South Park in a previous episode of this podcast. One thing I could say about Charlie Kirk is at least he took the South Park parody of him pretty well when Cartman was playing as Charlie Kirk as one of those debates in the elementary school. At least, like, Charlie Kirk had Cartman as his himself as the profile picture on his social media, so he took that pretty well.
He took it in stride. He laughed about it.
We still don't know who actually shot Charlie Kirk.
Right, and now apparently they have found the right guy now, and like they figured out where the bullet came from, what building, what rooftop the building was on. So I'm sure they have surveillance footage of whoever came into that building, went to the rooftop. So I'm sure they will. If they haven't figured out who the guy is already, they'll figure it out, and they will get this guy.
And not to
And
mention,
go ahead.
and not to mention, whether you like or hate him, or even if you disagree with him, he didn't deserve to die like that. Especially since, yeah, we don't even know who was responsible. There was videos of who they thought, but it wasn't the person, and now they say that someone else has gotten arrested and he might be the person, but we don't know yet.
Oh, Charlie Kirk's a fascist. I'm glad he's dead. It's like, okay, you're praising the death of someone who was exercising his freedom of speech with different political opinions. Charlie Kirk is the one that's a fascist? Wait, you're praising the death of someone who's exercising his right of free speech? What? Wait, killing somebody that's exercising their free speech. What does that sound like again?
That is exactly fascism. That's what I mean. Seriously, that's what Hitler would do. Like anybody who exercised freedom of speech, like against him, they would have just taken them to jail.
Right. This is a guy out of all the conservative debaters, like he was usually the kinder one, the most understanding. That's how he came across. This was somebody who would silence the crowd every time his supporters would boo somebody with an unpopular opinion. Like he let the opposing view speak. He gave dissenting opinions the chance to be heard and generally tried to find the common ground. So that makes him a bigot? So it's like, oh, well, okay, yeah, Charlie Kirk got killed, but what about Melissa Hortman? Okay, they're saying how it seems to happen both ways. Okay, how about the 2 times a radicalized trans asshole shot up a Christian school? You gonna mention that part? Oh wait, how about you mention Steve Scalise being shot on a baseball field? Brett Kavanaugh nearly being murdered in his own home by some radical lefty, or a Patriot Prayer member executed on the streets in Portland by some Antifa member. You gonna bring that shit up? Well, Republicans stormed the Capitol. It was Charlie Kirk's fault. Okay, what about the idiots who fucking burned down police precincts and cities in the name of
Black Lives Matter? Yeah.
There's even some politicians blaming Trump and those rioters on January 6th for what happened with Charlie Kirk's death. It's like, come on.
I mean, it's debatable whether you're going to see who has done it more, but it shouldn't be happening either way. But when one side is basically telling the other that you're a bunch of Nazis, you're a bunch of bigots, and then the other side just thinks, oh, you're just a bunch of snowflakes, you guys are this and that. It's like you've divided people so fucking much that you are asking for more events like this instead of trying to speak and find common ground.
It's dividing people so much and so bitterly that shootings like this have become more possible, and now it's getting people killed.
Well, and so, see, one of the things that Charlie Kirk actually was trying to talk about, and this was going around, was the news of this poor Ukrainian woman who made it into the country because she was escaping the war in Ukraine, and she's on a fucking subway at night in Charlotte, North Carolina or whatever, and just gets stabbed unprovoked by some repeat criminal who's been in jail 14 fucking times prior to this incident.
Yeah, and that's just horrible how she came to this country and she got stabbed to death. And the worst part was I don't think anybody else on the train was able to help her out.
It's not that they were able to help her out; it's that they didn't help her out
at all.
Nobody stepped in to try to stop the dude. This you can see in the video. He just gets up and just unprovoked just attacks her. And nobody tries to step in to stop the shooter. The guy, not the shooter, the stabber. He literally walks off the train and you could hear him saying, I got the white girl. I got the white girl. It was a racially motivated attack even. Now, if this was the other way around, if this was a white dude killing a black woman, the media would be having a shit stay on it. And everybody would be getting murals up and candlelight vigils over this thing. but
Or-
because it was
Or in
this,
other words, it would be way more widespread than it actually has, even though much of the mainstream media are covering it because lots of people
they're
online are talking about it, and so they have no choice.
they're covering it now, even though this incident happened in mid-August. Okay, because the mainstream media didn't report it initially, but
Yeah.
then the news got around on social media, and then it spread out like wildfire. Now the media had no choice but to cover it.
Yeah, this happened more than a couple weeks ago, and it's just now they're covering it. And I've heard about it over a week ago, and they just didn't cover it until more recently. And not to mention that that woman, like she was really she was really scared when that about happened, and nobody tried to stop it like you said.
There you can see in the video or that she like the adrenaline was high, or like she was just so overwhelmed by what happened that she didn't have she didn't realize that she'd been fatally stabbed. Like she didn't realize she was bleeding and losing blood, because it wasn't long after when she lost consciousness, and there's nobody in there to try to pressurize the wound, to try to do anything to try to stop the bleeding.
It's
So, and
shocking.
again, that
Nobody-
it goes back to the whole Daniel Penny thing. It's like, well, when Daniel Penny went after the guy in the subway who was attacking people, this guy faced years in prison over it for defending other people from a dangerous guy on the subway.
Yeah, and it looks like nobody tried to help her on the train. I mean, it's just horrifying and horrible on multiple levels.
It's like, dude, there was multiple people in the subway. They could have kicked him. They could have tried to get the guy. They could have tried to get the knife out of his hands. Like,
Yeah, but it's just they did nothing. Like the poor person didn't deserve to die like this.
no, she did not.
Yeah,
Charlie Kirk didn't deserve to get assassinated today. This woman didn't deserve to die 2 weeks ago. Like, holy shit, people! Like, why are we killing each other?
Yeah,
because of over different opinions and all that.
Well,
different opinions.
Yes.
Go ahead.
For one of them, yes. And by the way, I think Charlie Kirk was actually mentioning that stabbing, but the other reason, well, for this case, in this case, you have this guy who I think went to prison for the same charge 14 times for, I think it was some kind of an assault, and one burglary charge. I mean, my God, we need to actually get tougher and stricter on crime, but we can't just do it the same old way that we've been doing for decades. We need to put them in jail for years without parole, and then we need to put them into an asylum, but not the same type of insane asylum that used to exist in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s that the journalists exposed as very, very abusive and corrupt. We need the kinds of asylums that are safe and not abusive, but still help.
Honest, you know what? No. I'm going to disagree with you there to an extent. A repeat offender who's been in and out of prison for similar crimes, a violent offender. No, you send him to where he's going to get abused. You send him to where he's going to get butt raped.
Yeah, like
you send him to where he's going to get lobotomized and get experiments performed on him, because that's what guys like him fucking deserve.
Yeah, like especially since he's been in and out of jail like 14 times. If he's violent, like he should get a longer sentence.
Yeah, he shouldn't be getting cash bails. He shouldn't be getting empathy laws.
Hell no.
It's like, oh no, it's like he should not be getting anything like that. Reportedly, even this guy's own family was telling the judge, don't release him back on the streets. His own family was already disowning him and saying, no, he needs to stay behind bars.
Well, yeah, I've seen an example like this before, to where, he's, it's a kid that I used to go to school with who once told me to shut the F up, shut the H up, and shut the heck up in the same sentence. After he got held back, he eventually got kicked out of 2 of the high schools in my school district for fighting, dropped out because and started hanging out on the streets because he liked drugs more than school, and did a series of bad crimes, including crimes that involved a gun, and became a Texas top 10 fugitive list member. And then on the 4th of July 2 years ago, he actually committed murder in my city, and he was caught in Dallas, and now he's basically in jail indefinitely under their custody. But this is what happens when you just, not only commit crimes, but you have this pattern of committing a crime and going to jail and then letting him back out after a little while or a few years, when he really should have just stayed in jail for years without parole, as I said before, and they would have prevented that terrible tragedy from happening.
And not to mention, for these like repeat offenders, they don't even give them rehabilitation and such like that.
Exactly. Well, yeah,
No,
they need some help there, but still.
That's fine. You want to give them a chance to be rehabilitated, that they're going to change their ways and whatever. Like, okay, I get that to an extent, but how many times does this guy need to do the same repeat offenses before they say, fuck it, send this guy to the gulag in Russia and let them perform sex reassignment surgeries on him for fun?
But some criminals like some of them, they just can't be rehabilitated at all, and some of them just should be free.
That's what I'm saying. So at that point, go send them to where they fucking deserve
to be. In the example I gave, and that schizophrenic fucktard that stabbed the poor woman on that North Carolina train, a woman who actually originally came from Ukraine to the U.S. to escape the Ukraine war, and she was going.
Yeah, she comes to the U.S. to escape a war, and she instead becomes a victim in public transportation. And I mean, I'm sorry, like public transportation, there is a huge risk. That's why so many people like cars nowadays. So to the point where even if you have access to public, you're going to use your car.
That's one reason,
especially trains.
That's one reason why things are so car dependent and why people just prefer to drive, because public transportation like the bus or the train, it's just not safe at night, and this is one of the reasons why.
I remember when I got fired from my truck driving job, I got sent on a Greyhound bus, and I kid you not, I saw 2 men, one of them wearing a fucking ski mask when they were boarding, and I remember thinking, oh God, is there going to be a stabbing? Am I going to be shot? Thankfully it didn't happen, but it's like, why the fuck would you be wearing a ski mask on a Greyhound bus overnight? True story.
And that's just why I don't really take the bus. That's why I earned my driver's license.
I only took the Greyhound bus because I was forced to. Otherwise, I would have figured out a way out of there.
And
that's one reason I just take the plane and just not take a bus to go on vacation. That's what I mean by that.
Right. Go ahead, Greg.
And I was going to share this, that I think 2 years ago when I was in downtown St. Paul, all of a sudden I kind of heard, well, there was a light rail train that was stopping by, and then all of a sudden there were people getting out of it, and someone said, oh, this guy's got a gun, get out of there.
Fuck.
I was near it. Luckily, I was able to escape it.
And this, for example, this stabbing happened on was like the metro. I don't know if this would happen in like Amtrak trains or travel trains like that. Because
it can happen in any train. It can happen in anything. A lot of these transportation methods, they don't have metal detectors, so you can pretty much bring whatever the fuck you want on there. And unless they have armed security on the train with them, you're risking it.
Well, what I was trying to say is there might be some trains that are safer, but like you said, this could happen on any one of them.
Yeah, I've been on subway trains in LA that had cops on them. So at that point, like, okay, we're fine. But they're not, their resources are already getting stretched thin, especially when you have people saying, oh no, deform the police by defunding them. Okay, so you have less police. Oh, that means that opens the door for more crime. Like, doy.
And I can even say this: what they really mean by "oh, defund the police," they really mean to say is replace them with the National Guard, which would be 10 times as worse.
Oh, don't you love it how when Trump deployed the National Guard to Chicago, like you have Chicago gangs basically saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to declare war on the National Guard." Like, why would you fucking support that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
and not to mention when they bring the net when Trump brings the National Guard, the mayor of Chicago as well as the governor, they don't want to do they don't want anything to do with it. They don't want it to happen, even though crime has gone up as well as shootings and stabbings in Chicago.
Right. I mean, it is the gang capital of the world for a reason.
yeah, and another thing is that when it comes to trains and buses, I think that trains are worse. And I've had at least a few experiences, including a gunshot experience that happened really like over 19 years ago now. But there's like, but don't worry, I've never gotten shot. But it forced us all to stay on the train for much longer than otherwise. But there was a case years ago when I was on the bus to go to Mexico, and we took off from Dallas. And when we were in maybe somewhere in about or like close enough to Central Texas or something like that, that they actually started to play a porn movie on there, and there were little kids on the bus, including one that we went with who was, I think, like 3 years old and would not be 4 for a few more months. So, and then they took out that movie, and when they saw, I think, a sex scene or something like that going on there, fucking dumbasses.
Ugh.
Well, speaking of fucking dumbasses, on the same day that the Charlie Kirk stuff is happening, we had a school shooting at Evergreen High School. Now, Evergreen High School, okay, has a little piece of, when it comes to Evergreen, Colorado, that's where my mother grew up. She graduated from Evergreen High School. So that one kind of hits at home.
Way back in 1968.
That's right. She's a baby boomer. That's when they were graduating.
Of course. There were 3 students, including the gun person himself. I'm going to assume him because most of the shooters are guys that got shot, and I'm not sure if they're still alive or not.
And again, this is all fresh. We really don't know much information about it. We're really not going to go deep into it because this literally just happened.
And people
But
say they're not
go
giving
ahead.
enough attention to the school shooting, and they're just giving more attention to Charlie Kirk getting shot when both of them are cases of gun violence.
Yeah, they're both cases of gun violence, and it leads to, once again, them bringing in the whole gun control debate. Even some of the lefty friends that I know were quick to say, hey, this should be a reminder that it should be harder for people to have a gun. Like, okay, at least they're being consistent about it in that case. If they're going to argue gun control when a trans asshole goes after a Catholic school, and they do the same thing when they go after Charlie Kirk, okay, at least they're being consistent. I can respect them there.
Well, the thing is, as someone who's pro Second Amendment and pro gun, I just don't think like gun control would have stopped shootings like what happened with Charlie Kirk and school shootings like that from happening because of all the gun control laws they would have broken.
Well, I agree with you there, because, and again, almost 95% of mass shootings, or even just shootings in general, they happen in quote unquote gun-free zones.
Yeah, like these schools, including that college campus, that's a gun-free zone.
Yeah, but
Yep.
how many people
There you go.
Yeah, but how many people want to repeal gun-free zones?
Okay, but again, US has definitely been getting stricter and stricter on gun control. Certain states are getting more stricter and stricter on them, but they are still happening. And it feels like no matter what measure they are taking, it's not going to work. So that's where I'm agreeing with Brick when I say Give the people in school a fighting chance.
Like parents need to find a way to keep their guns in a safer place and locked up, so that way their kids won't be stealing it and taking it to school.
Well, not
And
only that, well, here's the thing though, because Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris were able to hide all the guns that they were buying from their parents. Their parents had no idea that they even had a fucking arsenal in their bedroom.
well, yeah, that's why you have to actually look
Got it.
into their bedrooms and help out their kids. You know, if they're facing things like either bullying or major mental problems, or really bad violent behavior, do something, intervene before they hurt other people.
Oh, and
Like
and
before.
like not to mention like those two shooters, they even got guns from their friends as well. And you can also think about how much gun control laws they broke by doing that.
A lot.
Right.
Crime prevention and intervention empowerment citywide programs in the last podcast. But I also think that when it comes to the schools, we need better, more character education across the country, in schools across the country, and do what my district did after I graduated, which was a week after a suicide took place inside of my high school, which is to have an initiative that teaches kids to be kind to others, which did make a positive impact on the schools there for a few years, and I think schools everywhere should do this, because
And
as my ex superintendent has said, there is no greater school safety measure invented than teaching kindness towards others.
And that's a good point,
I,
because especially since harassment and bullying has led to a lot of school shootings, incidents, and especially suicides. So you have a point there.
And we should have learned that lesson a very long time ago, at least after Columbine.
yeah, speaking of which, remember how they used to blame Marilyn Manson for Columbine, even though the shooters never listened to him? That documentary Bowling for Columbine, you actually had Michael Moore interview Manson, and he asked him, what would you say to the Columbine shooters? And he said, I wouldn't say a thing to them. I would listen to what they had to say, because that's what nobody ever did.
Interesting. But
That's what Marilyn, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what Marilyn Manson said.
and not just that, they even blamed video games. They also blamed Doom, because those shooters played Doom, even though there's no evidence that video games, like especially the ones they played, have helped with their violent behaviors. And
Well,
Oh goodness gracious! There's video games now that have a higher body count than Doom ever does.
yeah, and the thing is that how many times do we have to keep saying the same thing over and over again? I mean, aren't you tired of this? Violent video games do not cause violence, and they do not cause more aggression.
exactly, they do not make violent people. That's
And
exactly what.
there's no evidence to prove the opposite.
If anything, they relieve aggression. They relieve stress.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that I have heard, that is not talked about a lot, is that it causes already aggressive people to be more aggressive, but that's really it. And there's so much wrong with playing this already age-old blame game on the games and violent entertainment in general. But of course, some people believe this because they are so afraid of embracing the idea of personal accountability, as one person from GameSack has said.
Well, until both sides address accountability equally and try to find common ground and try to just stand for common sense instead of just being at each other's throats all the time, it's because we already have so many people that are just so radicalized by ideology that's just been instilled in their head for so long. it's not going to surprise me if we get another event like Charlie Kirk happening.
And I'm really
Could this
afraid of that.
Yeah, I am definitely afraid of that. If the precedent going forward nowadays is, I don't like your political opinion, bam, 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 bam.
Like they couldn't have done this with Trump. Remember when they tried to do that to Trump last year when he was running before he got reelected?
Yeah, they tried doing that to Trump twice. And again, what was the media saying about Trump prior to the assassination attempt? He's a threat to democracy. He's a Nazi. He's a fascist. The people running against him were calling him fascist on live TV. You think there's going to be somebody that listens to that bullshit for so much, and they're going to get so impressionable that they're going to think, oh yeah, we got to get rid of this guy. We got to assassinate Trump because he's a direct threat to democracy.
And that is
Like,
But they know they couldn't get rid of Trump, so that's why they had to shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
No, they shot and killed Charlie Kirk because they couldn't prove the dude wrong.
Yeah,
Charlie Kirk never got proven wrong on anything. I mean, sure, you can have counter arguments against his points. If you are for abortion, you're for illegal immigration. If you are for transgender kids getting their surgeries, or if you're for trans women in women's sports, like a lot of the things that lefties are putting their heel to die on, like Charlie Kirk is against those things. But because he's against those things, and because they can't prove him wrong on those things, he's got to go.
Here's how we first of all, what you said earlier about how people say that Trump is a threat to democracy over and over again prior to the assassination attempts on him last year, that's called the contagion effect. And that is dangerous because there are plenty of fucked up minded people out there. But here's
like they keep comparing him to Hitler and shit.
Yeah, that's
continue on, Adam. Go ahead. Continue on.
As I was saying, years in the making. But here's a couple things that we could do on how to counter so much of this crap. One, we need to do what I actually already did before in the last podcast, which is we need to stigmatize mass shooters, any kind of gun homicide, any homicide, as terrorism, because terrorism comes in many forms, and not all stigmas are good, but I think there are other stigmas that are necessary because they could be discouraging, but also a deterrent in ways that are pretty necessary. Number two, we actually need to put our foot down and say very firmly, just stop with all the politically motivated violence and aggressions. We need to learn to live peacefully and in a civil way with others, with views, differences from each other, without going at each other's throats. And
this is what
it's always been. We've always been a world like that, and it always will be. We all believed in all of the same things. Life would be a hell of a lot more boring than it actually has. And
again, go ahead, finish up.
And the thing is that I know a teacher that I never had, but I know other people and friends who did, who has been married to the same woman for a long time. They have 4 kids. They've been loving each other since they were in high school. But by 2016, they ran into view differences when it came to the election that took place that year. But they're still together, and they agree to disagree, and they still love each other. That's the sign of a mature marriage that knows how to be civil and to correct themselves and to live peacefully with each other. If only we would have more people like them, like many more people like them.
Well, again, I'm going to close with this. And it goes back to a quote that I like to say from James Hetfield when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Look, for everything that you're passionate about, there's going to be somebody that's equally passionate about the opposite. And that's okay. We can get along. We can coexist. We can talk about it. Let's be real. Let's be really diverse and, and go there. No one's right. No one's wrong. And you have, again, and my other thing is, like, you have to quit seeing somebody with a difference of opinion as the enemy. And unfortunately, that is what a lot of these people are going to do. The more you're going to get events like this. Charlie Kirk was not somebody that advocated for violence. He was completely opposite of that. He was the one saying, no, don't kill each other. Don't do any of that. Well, guess what? You're now going to get people that are radicalized by the incident of Charlie Kirk, and then you're going to get right-wing violence going after lefties as a result in retaliation. It will not surprise me if this happens. Okay, we're not calling for it. We don't want it to happen. We want it. I'm basically just saying, hey, assholes, stop fucking killing each other. And that's all I'm going to say.
If there's one last thing I'll say, like, instead of going for political violence, if there's someone you don't like a political candidate, just vote against them if you don't agree with that candidate.
And I can even say this as well to the people that can say, "Oh, we got bad guns. If they're the problem of everything." No. It's not the weapon that's the problem. Is the people that are using it. That's the problem.
Yes.
It's always the person that's the issue. It's never the weapon.
Yep.
First and foremost, and I think we are seeing the early phase of the pendulum swinging in the other direction, from the left having the upper hand. And these are terrible situations, but they should also be big wake-up calls for so many.
Oh no, the pendulum already shifted way hard toward the right. That's why the left is now resorting to shooting people. That's why they're doing it. If the pendulum didn't shift as hard as it did, you wouldn't have this incident happening. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or the left is going to get so powerful that Charlie Kirk and people that have opposing viewpoints are just going to get jailed. So that's another example of quote unquote fascism that they claim that they're supposed to be against. And with that said, the diner is closed. Our condolences go to Charlie Kirk, go to every victim of today, every victim the victim of 2 weeks ago, and their families. None of this shit should be happening. And unless things make a change, you're going to see more of this. Not that we want it to happen, but don't be surprised if somebody does it again. I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening.